Talking about the test that you're going to have tomorrow. There are going to be 2 questions that you are going to need to find the successive ratio. Period 1 had a problem finding successive ratio. They couldn't remember even what that was. So what I've done is I pulled this paper out because it reviews how to find successive ratios. Okay? Successive ratios. You take your y value and you take the current value and put it over the previous value to find the successive ratio, and then you simplify. Pretty simple, isn't it?
So
okay.
You put 10 over 5?
Equals 2. 20 over 10 will equal 2. And it has to be the same successive ratio in order to be an exponential function. Okay? It can't change. All right? Now, if you are dealing with just a parent, then it's this. But if you aren't dealing with a parent, like here, it's 2. So it was 5 times 2 was your B value. But if it's not, if it is a real life problem with decay or interest, that's when you would do 1 plus 2 or 1 minus 2, depending on whether it was decay or it was. But you have to find your successive ratio. That's your R. Remember the formula was 1 plus or minus R? Okay, if you're in a real life situation and it's not just the parent, okay, so you would, that's your R, your successive ratio. All right, so I just wanted to go over that. So now let's turn to the first problem on our exponential application. That was the paper that was up at front when you walked in the door. There is a well-known fable about a man from India who invented the game of chess as a gift for his king. The king was so pleased with the game that he offered to grant the man any request within reason. The man asked for 1 grain of wheat to be placed on the first square of the chessboard, 2 grains on the second, 3 grains 4 on the third, 8 on the fourth, etc., doubling the number of grains of wheat each time until all the 64 squares on the board had been used. The king, thinking this to be a small request, agreed. How many grains of wheat did the king have to place on the chessboard? Well, let's look and see if we can figure it out. Before we started, we had 0, right? So the number of grains of wheat was 0. All right. So then we went to what?
1.
Just 1 chess. So what did we do? We're trying to, how many did we have there? 1. Okay. What about here?
2.
2. What about here? 4. What about here? 8. What about here? So we're doubling, aren't we? Okay. So if I needed a successive ratio, here I have what? 2 to the 0 power. That's like saying 1, isn't it? Okay. Doubling. 2 to the what? First power. 2 to the second power. 2 to the third power. 2 to the fourth power. What happens down here at the 64th square?
2 to the
63rd power, correct. Okay. So how many grains of sand is that?
like 126.
So I started with 0, and so let's say I go 1 was the first one. That was my starting, right? Times 2 to the power of 63, right? And what do I end up with? A scientific number because it's so large. Could you imagine trying to put all those grains of wheat on one little square on the chessboard?
That dude was smart.
He was smart because all those grains of wheat, think about how much wheat he had when he was done. Probably fed his family for the rest of their life, huh? Okay.
Those are all just like a little piece of wheat.
A
Yeah, but
grain.
that's only on the 64th square. You could have.
No, on a chessboard you only have 64 squares.
Oh. But doesn't it like it double every single time?
But he gets those, and he gets all the other ones that
Yeah.
all the other squares.
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I
Correct.
was saying. So he get like.
This is just how many he has to put on the 64th square.
And then
How
like
do
if
you
you did like
on the square?
1 times 2 to the 62nd power, that'd be
Okay.
a lot too.
All right, let's look at the next one. A scientist has discovered, and you have something like this on your test, so please pay attention. Discovered a new strain of bacteria. The bacteria culture initially contained 1,000 bacteria, and the bacteria are doubling every half hour. How many bacteria will there be in 6 hours? So what is your A value?
1,000. I don't know.
Yeah. What's your B value? 2, because it's doubling, right? So you have 1,000 times 2 to the what?
Power
Power
of 12.
of 12. Why to the power of 12?
Because
It's going to 6
6
hours, and it
hours.
doubles every half hour.
That's correct. And you have to remember to convert that, okay? All right. What is that answer? 4,096,000. Okay.
4,096,000.
Let's do another one together. Flip the page. In 1995, there were 85 rabbits in Central Park in New York. So what is your A value? 85. The population increased by 12% each year. What's your B value? 1 plus 0.12. People remember? Which would really be 1.12, correct? Okay? Because you are increasing. We're not just with the parent formula here. How many rabbits were in Central Park in 2005? So what is your T?
10.
10. So you've got 85 times 1.12 to the power of 10.
We get 263.
What?
263.
263.99, right?
Yeah.
So if I was doing this, I would round that to 264 rabbits.
How many rabbits?
264
And then they went and shot them with a torpedo.
And they would grow much quicker than that.
Yeah, 'cause rabbits.
Subscription to a fashion magazine have gone down by a consistent 5% each year.
I'm gonna be a fashion magazine.
If the magazine currently has 11,000 subscribers, how many will there be in 2 years? I'm sorry, Ian with his wings will be in the fashion magazine, not you.
With his wings.
His wings.
I drank too much Red Bull and it gave me wings.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what his haircut is. Has wings.
He can fly with that hair.
All right. So what are we going to write here for our equation?
A is 11,000. Parentheses 1 minus 0.05 parentheses 2.
To the power of 2.
On my level.
So what do you get?
9,927.
So 9,900 and what?
28. And losing the subscribers. Or yeah, 28. It could be 28.
Is it rounded to 28?
Yes.
Okay. You have 2 gridables in front of you for this test. Okay. Your gridables. You are going to want to round your gridables to, if it's people, magazines, whatever, to the nearest whole number. If it has to do with investments, money, you're going to round it to the nearest hundredth. All right? Because hundredth is your what? Pennies. Okay? So you will round it to the nearest hundredth. There are 2 gridables on this test where you will need to do that. Okay? All right. I am not taking a grade on this. You may work on it, and I would like you to finish off at least through number 6. Don't do number 7. It talks about half-life. We've never really talked about half-life because I'm not concerned about it. If you, and then check with a friend on your grade, okay? I'm going to give you back all your papers. Is there anybody who wants to hand out some papers? They're up front. I would like to give you back all your papers so that you have a chance to use those as part of your study guide. And that's all your assignment is for today. Alrighty then.
Alrighty. It's like
Hey, Miss Boy,
Yes.
on number 7, it says